Hello, Petal. How you doing? How was your weekend? It was such a busy day yesterday. I can't even, and I was wiped out by the time I got home. So I just had to crash out last night. And today we've got a shorter chapter. So I thought, what the heck is? I was going to record tomorrow, but I thought, no, I'll do it today, and then we can get cracking on. And it's really going well with this one. How are you doing, or how are things? Are you enjoying it? I love the comments as ever, and it's always nice having a little chitter chatter on there, and getting to get your feel of it and what you think of it. So that's fantastic. But yes, I'm a bit worn out, so if I'm lacking in any energy, much apologies. But you know how it is on a Monday. I haven't got the full on Mondays though. What about you? Do you get the Mondays, or do you like? Well, I think you only get the Mondays if you do a Monday to Friday working week. I've got the Mondays because because I've got a Monday to Friday working week. Yes, anyway, there's me whiffling on about that. So, apologies for being a little bit low energy today, just a little bit knackered from yesterday, but we're going to still do the best we can for this chapter to bring you the most awesome list. Chapter 9 of Faust amongst Equals by our beloved Mr. Thomas of Holt. And also, because it's quite warm today, I've got the window open, so if we do get any noises, much apologies, but hopefully we won't. Hopefully the gain's right. By the sounds of it, you guys are not hearing the stuff out the back, which is freaking awesome. But as ever, if you could hit the like button, the share button, if you do want to share, it's no problem, you don't have to. But the like button and hitting the notifications bell really does help the channel, keeps us going, keeps the lights on, keeps the hamsters happy, and various other small critters around the place. But yes, including me. Well, I'm not a small critter. I'm quite a large critter, but you know. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's get started. Chapter 9. Danny Bennett knew for a fact that he had a destiny, just as a dog knows it has fleas. It was written in the stars that one day Danny Bennett would unmask the most staggering conspiracy, lay bare the most Machiavellian cover-up, make the ultimate documentary, win the ultimate award, make the once and future awards ceremony speech. The trouble with the stars is that sometimes they can't read their own handwriting. Either that, or there was another Daniel Woodward Bernstein Bennett out there somewhere who got all his namesake's mail by mistake. In any event, his latest staggering expose of corruption and intrigue in the Foodstuffs, Colouring and Preservatives Directorate, engagingly titled Offal You Can't Refuse, had made such an impression that here he was, covering the round Australia land yacht race for one of the top 40 satellite TV companies. Promotion, you could say, if you're happy with the concept of being promoted downwards. Media analysts tended to observe that if Isaac Newton had followed Danny's career over the last 5 years, the apple would have been entirely superfluous. He pulled in, stared blankly at 5 miles of featureless arrow-straight road in front of him, and consulted the map. Even with the map held the wrong way up, the only possible conclusion was that he'd come the wrong way, and that there was nothing for it but to turn around and drive the 87 miles back into the Arampagata. Narrator's note, please excuse if I'm not mispronouncing that. If you want to help me out with it, by all means, please just drop me some phonetics. Back to the story. The fact that by the time he got to where he was supposed to be, the race would be across the state line and heading north was tempered by the certainty that Danny wouldn't be able to recognise a land yacht if one ran up his backside, which is what one promptly did. Glancing in his rearview mirror, all Danny could see was a whacking great sail flolloped untidily across the back window. He frowned, opened the door, and got out. "Excuse me," he said. He couldn't help noticing something that looked uncomfortably like a sailing ship on wheels, which seemed for all the world as if it was trying to get in the boot of his car. "Why, the hell," said a voice from somewhere inside the canvas. "Don't you look where you're bloody well going?" "I wasn't going," Danny replied. "I was parked. What is that thing?" Out from behind the sail came about 7 feet of man, topped with flashing Ray-Ban mirror sunglasses and idly passing a toothbrush from hand to hand. "Is that your car?" he said. "It's a hire car," Danny replied. "What's—" He became aware that the handle of the toothbrush was level with his heart. Somehow this frightened him. "I need a lift." "Right," Danny said. "That's fine. I'm going back to Arampagata. That's about 90 miles that way, but you're welcome to... No, I need to go this way. Get in and drive. The stranger emphasised these words by drawing the bristles of the toothbrush against the pile across the palm of his hand, and some sort of atavistic survival instinct told Danny that this was a really good opportunity to practice being scared shitless. He complied. As he shut the door and turned the key in the ignition, he realised why. He knew the guy. "So you're in the race," he said, by way of a diversion. "What race?" "The land yacht race," Danny replied, looking straight ahead. "That was the land yacht you were riding, wasn't it?" "Yes." Lundqvist. It had to be Lundqvist. Excellence is its own best advertisement in the covert assassination and dirty tricks business as in everything else. Build a better man-trap and the world will beat a path to your door. As a result, Lundqvist's identity and professional reputation were tolerably well known among certain circles, although nobody with a penchant for waking up 2 mornings in a row would never have dreamt of trying to make any sort of fuss about it. Now, Danny had a talent, a quite staggering intuitive ability which enabled him to see just under half of the story in a blinding flash of inspiration. Once the speck of insight had found its way into his brain, he then proceeded to coat it with innumerable layers of his own brand of imaginative gibberish. But that was by the way. His most recent researches had led him to the plain fact that wherever something significant, mysterious and horrible had happened in the last 15 years, one Kurt Lundqvist had been somewhere in the vicinity at the time, visiting his aunt, seeing his dentist, attending a conference on early church music perhaps, but there nevertheless. Once he had seen that common factor, the conclusion was obvious. Danny Bennett knew instinctively, but conclusively, that Lundqvist was the #1 torpedo for the Milk Marketing Board, and here he was, in Danny's car, toothbrushed up and twitching with raw adrenaline, out in the middle of the Australian outback. Danny said, "Where was it you wanted to go exactly?" "George's sheep farm. Carry on along this road another 70 miles. It should be the first turning on your left. Got that?" Danny nodded, his brain teeming all the while. Sheep farm? What the hell would the Milk Marketing Board want with the sheep farm? Either the MMB bosses were running a covert dairy operation using cows with cotton wool stuck all over their backs, or else the whole thing was a front for something even more sinister. Part of his flesh crawled with feverish excitement. The rest just crawled. "Funny thing," Danny said. "I'd got the idea that the race didn't go anywhere near here." He didn't look round, but he could sense the lenses of the rear bands scorching the side of his head. "I'm taking a shortcut," Lundqvist said. "A shortcut? In a race? Yeah, fine." The next hour seemed to pass very slowly. There was Lundqvist in the passenger seat, grimly munching his way through a roll of peppermints he'd found in the glove box, and there was Danny, desperately trying to suss it all out and find the little stray clue that would tie in a New South Wales sheep ranch, the Watergate break-in, and the Banco Ambrosiano. It was there. He knew it. Just a matter of isolating one little wisp of a connection. "We're here." Danny stood on the brake, slewing the car half round. His eyes met Lundqvist in roughly the same manner as a hedgehog meets an 18-wheel Mack truck. "So," Danny said, "this is where you get out then?" "Yeah." The door opened. Lundqvist grabbed his rucksack off the back seat and extracted the grotesque lengths of knee and elbow from which he appeared to be largely constructed. He slammed the door and started to walk up the long dirt track. Discretion is the better part of valour, as the saying goes. By the same anchor, but not perhaps so well known, are such equally profound saws as aspirin is a spice of geography, and you can lead a horse to water but never double on 3 nor trumps. Danny drove on, decided to count to 10, got to 7, and backed up. Then he drove on down the narrow track. On the seat beside him there now rested a loaded video camera. Lundqvist froze in the doorway. Now that statement is rather ambiguous, since it was something like 90 in the shade, and there was enough moisture gathering in the armpits of his shirt to hold a tall ship's race on. Lundqvist was by no means frozen. He was rather still. Inside the big shed thing, Lundqvist was a bit vague about the proper names of agricultural buildings. A girl was counting sheep. 76, 77, 78, 79. Oh, come on, Hilda, up you get. 80. The share your own idea, Helen admitted to herself, hadn't been the tearaway spectacular success she'd hoped for. In the back of her mind, she had the notion that you needed just a bit more passing trade for a venture of that kind, and perhaps she should have realised that earlier. Still, no use crying over spilt milk. Danny Bennett would have disputed that remark, and it's as well he wasn't on hand to do so. What she did have on credit side of the ledger was many, many sheep, and it surely wasn't beyond the wit of man to find some way of exploiting the resource. She paused, hands on hips, and frowned. Then she cracked a small whip she held and shouted, "Come on, Doris, you aren't even trying." Doris gave her a blank stare, said, "Meh," and trotted grimly around the jump. The rest of the flock, however, did as they were told, and jumped. The face that launched 1,000 sheeps, and all that jazz. Narrator's note, oh my God. I forgot about that one. And scene. Okay. Oh my goodness, Tom Holt, you legend. Right, back to the story. Not a bad wee saw, she said it herself. What do you give the insomniac who's got everything? Trained performing sheep, of course. Meanwhile, in the doorway, Lundqvist was motionless, listening. Where Helen was, it stood to reason. George could not be far away. All he needed to do was wait, like a cat at a mouse hole, and the idiot would walk straight into his arms. Well, yes, quite. On the one hand, Lundqvist said to himself, quite apart from his virtually infinite resources of supernatural special effects, Lucky George has the reputation of being a crack shot, naturally gifted all-in wrestler, and ex-Wittenberg fencing blue. On the other hand, I have a toothbrush. Had a toothbrush. A few seconds of frantic pocket-searching followed, at the end of which Lundqvist moaned softly and bumped his head 3 or 4 times against the doorpost. He'd come all this way, stolen a helicopter, hijacked an airliner, taken a series of cars and lorries without permission, and finally mugged a sailplane pilot, only to leave his toothbrush somewhere between here and the entrance of the driveway, and Lucky George liable to turn up any minute. "Excuse me," called the girl from the interior of the shed. "Can I help you or something?" Lundqvist stood upright. A stray pellet of inspiration had lodged in the back of his brain. "Yes," he said, "I think you can." By the time Danny Bennett had climbed up on the rail of the silage clamp to get a better view, and got the camera on his shoulder, and found the thing you press to make it go, and all the other things you twiddled to get it in focus, he'd missed some of the best bits. He'd missed Lundqvist running like a hare out of the shed with a flock of ravening sheep snapping at his heels, and the current Miss World bringing up the rear, cracking a whip and shouting, "Go on, Doris, kill!" He'd missed Lundqvist's quite spectacular leap up into the hayloft, and the lead used frantic efforts to jump up and bite his throat out. He'd missed the really good bit, where the girl had brought up a ladder and the sheep had gone swarming up it like firemen on a piecework, followed by Lundqvist jumping out the other side and landing on the water butt. What he had got, though, was Lundqvist grabbing the girl, bundling her under his arm and running like fun back up the drive, while 17 livid sheep stood in the hay platform, realising that learning to come down the ladder had been penciled on the timetable for the week after next. He hadn't the faintest idea of what was going on, of course, but that was so close to normality that it was comforting rather than otherwise. What he did recognise was bloody good television. Familiarity is indeed the most powerful anaesthetic of all. To Helen of Troy, bumping about under Lundqvist's arm and trying to write "Been kidnapped, dinner in fridge, love Helen, kiss, kiss, kiss" on the back of a feed bill with an eyebrow pencil, being abducted was just like old times. It was, after all, what she was best at.
"You!" screamed Lundqvist. "Start the goddamn car!"
Danny, recognising that the remark was addressed to himself, started to climb down from his eyrie and then checked himself. Yes, sure, a good journalist's first duty is to cover the story. But did that involve assisting in the abduction of beauty queens by known hitmen?
"Start the fucking car!"
Lundqvist reiterated, as if somehow conscious of Danny's internal debate.
"Or I'll rip your nuts off with a plastic fork."
Yes, Danny decided, it probably did. Without releasing his hold on the camera, he fumbled in his trouser pocket for the car keys. Now, you know how it is with keys. Shy, elusive creatures. The trouser pocket is their natural habitat, and they are masters of the art of camouflage and concealment. Their favourite ploy is to snuggle down into the folds of a crumbled pocket handkerchief and stop up the mouth of the burrow with any loose change that might be lying about. Failing that, they find a loose thread in the seam to snag themselves on and cling like limpets. Danny's keys did both.
"Just a minute,"
he called out, jiggling furiously.
"I won't keep you. I've just got to—"
He jiggled too hard and dropped the camera. 5 minutes of the best action sequence he'd ever been privileged to witness, spinning and twirling through the air on its way to obliteration on the rock-hard ground 20 feet below. In that split second, when he realised what had happened, Danny felt the most devastatingly acute feeling of loss that any human being could conceivably register without the top of his head coming unscrewed. It had had everything. Sex, violence, action, comedy and white fluffy animals, and in 1.5 seconds' time it was going to hit the deck and go splat. He launched himself into the air, stretched out a frantic arm like Michelangelo's Adam, and just managed to get the tips of his fingers around the carrying handle. His last thought before he hit the deck and went splat was, "Phew, that was close." When he opened his eyes, it was dark. Then someone slowly turned up the lights. It was just like being at the cinema. The faint glow was coming from directly in front of him. As he stared, it seemed to resolve itself into shapes, patterns, letters.
"You are dead."
Danny stared violently, or rather he didn't. It was like trying to rub your eyes with a hand that's just been amputated. The brain ordered a spasm of movement, and the space where the nerves had once been sent back the message that the spasms are off.
"Sorry."
Gosh, Danny couldn't help thinking. It's nice of them to say that. Perhaps it wasn't 100% sincere, no more than "we apologise for any delay notices at the head of a 12-mile tailback," but the fact that they bothered at all was reassuring in a way. It implied that there was someone, or perhaps someone, you could write to and complain.
"Death is perfectly normal. Please don't worry."
The letters flickered and faded, and it was dark again. But there was no immediate impulse towards terror, because they were playing piped music. Airport music. Supermarket music. Please hold the line music. Now, everybody knows that when this sort of music plays, the only possible emotion is passive boredom. Narrators know, or increasing rage, depending on the music. I love my doctor's surgery, but seriously, the music they play, oh my goodness. That's probably, they do it so people don't wait in the queue to get an appointment. Anyway, I digress. Please hold the line music. Now, everyone knows that when this sort of music plays, the only possible emotion is passive boredom, and it's impossible to be passively bored and shit scared at the same time. Danny sighed and allowed his mind to wander.
"Well, I'm dead. What a bloody nuisance. Here I am dead and no camera. My first really big scoop, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it."
Then it occurred to him that death is hardly a scoop for any journalist. It's the one story that everyone covers and nobody gets to phone in. Danny opened where his mouth had been and screamed noiselessly. And then the lights flickered again, this time resolving themselves into a 10-foot-high neon questionnaire.
"Please help us to help you by completing this simple form."
Put like that, it would be churlish to refuse. Full name, Daniel Woodward Bernstein Bennett. Date of birth, December the 14th, 1959. Nationality, British. Smoking or non-smoking? Non-smoking. Evening meal, and so on. The form scrolled forward. Breakfast is served in the dining area between 7 and 9. The fire escapes are situated at the end of the corridor. If you have managed to take it with you, please deposit it in the safety deposit box in the front office. And as it did so, Danny realised something. A common factor. A link. New South Wales. A sheep station. Kurt Lundqvist.
Me? Lundqvist? Bloody hellfire, I've been hit by a hitman.
Danny's spiritual remains sat bolt upright, and where his eyes had once been shone with ecstatic joy, for in a moment of transcendent knowledge such as one tends to associate with the Great Transition, Danny had suddenly realised that all his life, everything he'd fought and worked and sweated and been humiliated for, must have been worthwhile.
Hey, he yelled, this is great. I've been silenced. I must have known too much.
And then the reaction. Deadening and crushing as a pile driver. Absolute Sunday morning and no milk left to spare. Yes, obviously he'd known too much. Obviously he'd been put out of the way by them, by the unseen conspirators. All rooms must be vacated by 12 noon on Judgment Day. Please do not place objects down the toilet bowl. If you would like your past life to flash before you, please dial your credit card number down to the front desk and select Channel 12 on your remote control handset. Unfortunately, he hadn't the faintest idea what it was he'd known too much about. I love that little sequitur. I really do. That's what Tom Holt does really, really, really very well. He's just a legend when it comes down to those things. I am really enjoying reading this one. I enjoy reading them all, to be perfectly honest, because we share in the books together. So I think we're all on board with Paint Your Dragon next after this one, but we've still got a bit of a way to go with this one because there's some hefty chapters to go. I just got to get through this week. As I said, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of appointments and whatnot. So I will be bringing you chapters as soon as I can and when I'm able. So as I said, it's going to be a pretty busy week for me. And yes, please let me know how you are and how you're doing, how things are going on. Don't forget your dad jokes. I do quite enjoy seeing them because we've got this thing with my darling friends and I, how they torment me relentlessly with dad jokes. Now the thing is, I've got to be honest, my delivery of jokes is absolutely abysmal. It's terrible. I can't remember a dad joke to save me life. And as such, I think it's a case of envy. That's the reason I kind of turn around and go, meh, dad joke's terrible, rare. Just because I'm jealous and I can't tell them as well as they can. Their delivery is outstanding, I've got to be honest. But yeah, if you've got dad jokes or any jokes, any little funny things, by all means, you put them in the comments, no problem. We'll all share in them. Absolutely love it. And yeah, it's so good that you're all coming back and listening to these chapters. And I know I say the same thing all the time, and I'm really sorry about that. At the end of the day, I appreciate each and every single one of you for what you bring to this channel. And you mean a lot to me because, I don't know, I was losing sight of why I wanted to narrate audiobooks on this channel. Because obviously I'm very lucky to narrate audiobooks for Audible, and with some incredible authors. I'm very grateful for that. And this is my hobby. This is for me, and this is kind of like, the joy of it. And I was losing it a bit, especially when there was a bit of a thing with the channel about September where the rules all changed and I stopped doing blind reacts at that particular point. And I decided to go in a different direction. And it's the best thing I did. And it's very much thanks to people like Rose, especially for, the suggestions made there, and for Dee Crittle and John Shepherd and everybody, and the Watcher as well. And all of you that are here, Madcap Gaming, you are all phenomenal people, and I appreciate all of you. And if I haven't mentioned anybody, it's because my brain's all over the place right now. As I said, because there is a lot going on, but hopefully as this week gets over and done with, we'll get it all sorted. Yes. We've got this. Yes, I'll get my whiffle on track and I'll find my sense of humour again. It's around here somewhere and I've dropped it and it might have smeared under something and I don't know, I'll probably find it when I'm on the floors. Right then, let's get back onto it. We'll be fine. So anyway, right. Enough maudling, enough chatting on. I will see you in a couple of days. If it's sooner, it's sooner. If it's not, it's not. But I will still doing my, I'll give you instant premieres. And that's why it helps me out when you hit the notifications bell, you see. So let me know how you're doing. Let me know what's going on. Tell me if you could go anywhere on holiday with, like, you could just, like, morph or transmogrify or time warp or sail or whatever you'd like to do. Where would be your dream vacation and why? Mine would have to involve mountains and trees. You know, that would be really awesome. Flying's no problem, that's okay. But I'd love to, like, go on a hot air balloon. I'd be absolutely terrified of falling out. I'm petrified of heights. Absolutely petrified. The back of my legs go funny when I'm up really high. Like, doesn't matter how far away from the edge I am, I think I'm going to fall over. Like, yeah, heights and being enclosed, I just, no. So I wouldn't go on the sea because I can't go to sea on anything smaller than the Isle of Wight without puking my soul up, to be honest. Yeah, I tried a ferry once, didn't work well. But yes, where would you like to go on holiday and how? And I'm going to stop whiffling now. I was really just trying to fill this out to be a bit of a longer chapter. It's not even got to half an hour. My God, that's shocking. Right, that's it. Time to get on and get cracking. So as soon as I get this one done and up, then I can plan for getting another one done in the next couple of days. So big love to you all. Take care. Take it easy. Thank you for indulging me and humouring me. I appreciate you very much. And thank you very much for being here and keep coming back. Bingo. I wonder if I should do a drum and bass version. I kind of like do it and then just put a beat to it. Oh, that'd be so funny. Oh my goodness. We will mend it, we will fix it, we will stick it with scissors and glue. Let's see what we can do. Catch you later, Beto.